We've all been scrolling through our feed and seen some video that looks absolutely amazing and wondered how the hell did they get their upload quality to be so good on Instagram? Today I'm going to be diving into the export settings that I use in Premiere Pro as well as in the Instagram app for uploading. There's really only a couple steps that you need to do just to make sure that our footage is going to look the exact same as we expect it to look. So the first step for this is actually going to be in the Instagram app. So let me get mine out and I'll walk through this with you. You're going to go to your profile, tap on the three lines in the top right, and you're going to go to settings. In the settings tab, you want to go over to the little account icon and scroll down to data usage. In this data usage tab, there's an option for high quality uploads. Instagram has this turned off by default. So unless you've gone in and changed this manually, yours is probably off. For the majority of content getting uploaded, it doesn't need to be super high quality. So they want to prioritize upload speeds by limiting data. But if you are a content creator and you're putting a lot of effort into creating, you definitely want to make sure that that's checked. The first tip that I have isn't actually a tip for exporting, but rather for while you're shooting. You want to make sure that you're using the highest quality that your camera allows for. If your camera shoots in 4K, you want to make sure that you're using all of that resolution to your advantage. If your camera only shoots in 1080p, then that's also fine. But what I would recommend doing then is making sure that you're shooting vertically. If you shoot horizontally, you're gonna need to punch into the image a good amount in order for it to scale up to fill the full 9:16 aspect ratio. What's gonna happen is you're gonna lose quality and start to see some pixelation there. If you're shooting in 4K, you can still punch in, and since we're gonna be exporting in 1920 by 1080, you won't really notice any difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up a project that I shot, which is just a drone shot of the Santa Monica Pier at sunset. And I added some text to this, I added some sound effects and music, and color graded it, and I want to export this and get this uploaded as a reel to Instagram. So now that you've got your footage in Premiere Pro, the first tip is you want to make sure that your sequence settings are at the highest quality to match your footage. The reason I do this is because if you do want to punch in on 4K footage at all, you want to make sure that your sequence resolution is the highest it can be so that you're not punching in on a 1080 sequence even if it's 4K footage. If your footage is already in 1080 by 1920, then you can just leave your sequence in 1080 by 1920 as well. So now that I'm ready to export, I'm gonna go ahead and hit Command M to bring up the export window. And the first thing that you're gonna wanna change is gonna be the format up here. Bring up the drop-down menu and go ahead and choose H.264. So this format is the best for web delivery for really any sort of social media platform. The file sizes are super manageable and it does a great job of compressing without losing a lot of quality. Now we're gonna scroll down and where it says width and height, you're gonna wanna uncheck that box. The only reason I'm unchecking it is because I'm editing in a 4K sequence and I wanna export in 1080p. The maximum amount that Instagram even supports is 1080 by 1920. So anything over that, Instagram actually uses its own compression algorithm, which isn't very flattering to your footage. So by just exporting in 1080p to start with within Premiere, we can just upload directly to Instagram and make sure that our footage is gonna look the exact same as we expect it to look. For my frame rate, I'm gonna make sure that 29.97 is selected, and I also wanna be sure that my sequence settings reflect that as well. If you have a lot of motion in your footage and you want it to not have much motion blur, then you can go ahead and uncheck that and just bring it up to 59.94. Make sure that you have render at maximum depth checked. This is unchecked by default, but you definitely want to include that. And then also go down here and check use maximum render quality. Really the last setting that I want to include is your bitrate setting. I like to use VBR2 pass. Now, since we're only exporting in 1080 by 1920, you really want your bitrate to be aligned with whatever quality you're exporting in. So if we were exporting in 4K, I would want to bump this up higher, but since we're only exporting in 1080p, really you can keep your target bitrate at around 10, and then your maximum bitrate, I like to double whatever my target bitrate is. If there's any areas where there's a lot of motion and it needs to bump up the bitrate to keep it from artifacting, then the maximum bitrate is just saying that it can go anywhere up to 20. And if you're exporting in 1080p, you're not going to need anything more than that. So the final tip that I have is really just about transferring your file between your computer, wherever you're editing it, back onto your phone. If you're using a Mac, AirDrop is a great way to transfer things between your phone and your computer without losing any quality. Another option would be using a file sharing platform like Dropbox or even Google Drive, and then just downloading the app on your phone. And then from there, they should have an option to save it into your camera roll. So there you have it. That's how you get the highest quality uploads for your reels on Instagram. You're putting all that time and effort into creating them. I wanted to show you guys how to upload them in their full quality without Instagram compressing them and making them look terrible. If this was helpful to you, go ahead and leave it a like and subscribe. I'm gonna be doing more tutorials like this weekly for creators like yourselves. Go out, stay creative, shoot more reels and upload them to your followers where they can see them how they were meant to be viewed in the highest resolution. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I'll see you next week.